Hey everybody, I'm Josh Olive with Haven Comics. It's Thursday night, which means it's time for some shop talk, and we are going to jump right into it as soon as we play this awesome video from, our friend Nick Ellis at Two Brothers Comics made for us because it's pretty cool. Big shout out to Nick Ellis for being really talented, being a really cool guy, and making that for us because that was awesome all the way around. Um, Speaking of awesome all the way around, I got to introduce you to my co-host, my co-pilot, the one, the only, Mr. Alan Breedlove. What's happening, Alan?
I don't have my sound effect. Wait a minute. All right, I'm over it. I got to be honest with you. I don't really feel awesome. It has been so busy. I do need to start off with an apology. I have not read any comics for like the past week just because the way, whenever you make plans, the one thing that's guaranteed to happen is life, and life has definitely happened for about the past week and a half.
Are you saying life hasn't been a box of chocolates?
No, it has not, but I will be getting back on track tomorrow. If not tomorrow, definitely Saturday morning. And so there will not be an episode of the Pull List for those of you that watch the Pull List. Which, to be
You're
honest,
just going to get an extra big one next week.
you're going to extra get, definitely a supersized Pull List next week. For there is one particular person, and this like really amazed me. I found this out last weekend. I love it. We don't have a lot of people on our live streams. Anywhere from 5 to say 15 watching live. Then, we're kind of peeling back the curtain for y'all. Over the course of the weekend is when we get the majority of our views. It's the same thing with the pull list that I release every Friday, that, the majority of our views come over the next few days. But I'm always amazed by the people that care enough to go back and watch the live streams after the fact. And I want to shout out one particular person because I know that to you and I and to the people watching live, it's Thursday night, it's 7:03 Central. But to Big Nosh, it is actually Saturday morning, and he is doing his laundry right now.
Brother, no way. Nosh watches us on Saturday mornings?
We are Nosh's Saturday morning cartoons. So, Nosh.
Dude, Nosh, you are the man.
You rock. I love you, brother. Thank you for supporting us. Don't forget the fabric softener and have another cup of coffee.
Dude, and Nosh has to like climb up the side of the building and get through the laser grid and all that kind of security stuff to even get to the show. He's amazing.
Yeah, so I noticed it seemed like every Saturday by lunch, I would start seeing comments roll through on YouTube from Nosh. And then finally last Saturday, he was like, look, I got to be honest with you. I watch the live stream and I watch the pull list every Saturday morning while I'm doing laundry and cleaning the house.
He's the man.
I know. Nosh, you rock, brother. I love you so much.
I would love to meet that dude in person. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, he's one of those that, like, I would love the chance to meet that dude in person. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, that actually made my entire weekend, just to know that somebody out there cared enough to spend their Saturday mornings with us.
Yeah, that's pretty darn awesome. Now we're going to have to, like, try to earn that.
Oh, I know.
We're going to have to up our game.
Really? We're going to have to do something. But since I have not been able to get by and get any books, I've got no new books to talk about with y'all. Which Josh was not joking. Next week, I know I have a good idea of what's in my box. Next week is definitely going to be a supersized episode. I may even have to cut out some of the ones that I just don't think people are going to entirely care about. But since it is Halloween and we're getting ready to go into, well, we're less than a week away from Halloween, I still got the Storefolio and I still got comics in it. We've just got horror comics for the night. and to talk about some of those type stuff.
Before we jump into that, I want to show you something.
Oh, show me what you got.
Um, you haven't read any comics this past week, but I've been a little behind because things have been hectic. I just want to show you my stack from this past week and the couple of weeks before.
That's yep. Oh, you got some trades in there too.
I got a couple, but this is my stack from the past couple of weeks. And y'all, there's some good stuff in here.
So, did you get a chance to read The Hunger in the Dusk issue 3 yet?
Yes, I did.
That is a beautiful cover.
That is a beautiful. Have you read 28 yet?
What's going on in 20? No, 28 just came out today or yesterday, didn't it?
Last week. So I guess not. Let me tell you. Yeah. Y'all, Wonder Woman #2. At first glance, this kind of looks like one of those peeking through the blinds variant covers that Marvel's been doing for the past year or so.
Yeah.
But this is not. It's her with her bracelets. And you can see cool stuff in the reflections if I could get the camera to focus. The first issue of this book was really, really good. This issue is awesome. He does this thing with the parallel storytelling where each page just about is read. It's either each page or the pages are side by side. And this is a side by side page where you've got a story that's happening at some point in the past with a story that's happening now.
Nice.
That parallel story structure had to be a nightmare to work out, but it's amazing. And as you can see, Daniel Sampier's art is still superlative. I mean, just absolutely incredible. Uh, in any case, y'all, this book is awesome. If you didn't pick up Wonder Woman #1, it is not too late. We still have copies. I'm sure other retailers still have copies. You need to get that because it's so good.
Wonder Woman #1 was definitely a wordy issue, but it needed to be a wordy issue to set up what they're doing, and it was so good.
This issue does not. It's a little bit wordy, but not on that level at all.
Yeah.
This issue is really good. This is one I don't know if you guys remember. We backed the Kickstarter for this book, and it has not. We haven't gotten anything from that Kickstarter as of yet. But the book got picked up by Scout Publishing shortly after the Kickstarter went through, and then Sean Colvin, the creator who we had on this show, died. But that's Beautiful Soldiers #1.
I remember we were showing off the art for that, and the art was absolutely beautiful, but she passed away unexpectedly, didn't she?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. It was that was heartbreaking.
Such a sweet lady. If y'all get a chance to go back and watch that episode, if you track it down, she was an absolute sweetheart.
Yeah, but Sean Colvin, rest in peace. You created a really beautiful book. It finally came out, so we're glad we got a few copies of that. Yeah,
it's a shame she never got to see it actually come out.
That's so true, because that was one of her big dreams, was to see that book come out, and yeah, she's upset.
Yeah, see, I wanted that one so bad, but not being able to make it up there last week. But the fact that it says Nightwing's pirate booty, and we all know the ongoing joke with Nightwing's butt, that just makes it even funnier.
Yeah, this is just as this book has been. This continues to be an awesome book, really great. Okay, here we go.
What'd you think
about the Dusk #3. Dude, I really enjoyed that.
I love.
What do you mean? What's up with DC, Nick? What do you mean?
DC, what's up with them is they're kicking Marvel's butt right now with the storytelling.
DC has got currently a lot more major characters who have real character-driven stories right now. I have been a Marvel guy my whole life, but right now I'm reading as much DC, if not more than Marvel, because what DC is doing right now is great. Marvel's doing it on a handful of titles. Fantastic Four, Moon Knight, uh, Miles Morales, Spider Man, Scarlet Witch, Daredevil, uh, but they're not doing it across the board. And DC really seems to have taken uh, a more focused look at telling character driven stories, and I've really been digging that.
I
Uh,
never thought we would get to a point where I feel like I can honestly say, and it can be very easily verified and backed up, that a 6-issue Green Arrow miniseries,
that's been pushed to 12 now, by the
oh,
way.
has it been pushed to 12?
Yes.
Has been better than anything Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man in the past 5 years easily.
Yeah, I never would have thought you could seriously say those words, but that's true.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a legitimate argument because, I mean, that Green Arrow series has been great.
Yeah. Yeah, but this book right here, again, if you are
Oh,
not reading The Hunger in the Dusk, you need to get on this. This is issue number 3. We still have copies of number 1 and number 2 at the shop. I had to go back and order those because we sold out of them twice. But this is such a good series. I want people to read it. If you like fantasy genre stuff at all, this will appeal to you. This is phenomenal. Story is great. The artwork is great. The world building is really cool. It's got a lot of things you're familiar and comfortable with, but it's also different enough that it's got some unique elements, unique aspects, and the orc culture particularly is really cool in this. I really dig it. And the Vangal, the threat, the adversary species, those guys are really cool too.
what did you think about how they described how they are moving around without anybody seeing them?
Loved it.
I thought that was great. That right there is a backstory that needs its own issue, at least once, to tell about how all that came about.
I would read a series about the downfall of that particular race and why they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, that was, I mean, for it to be such a simple explanation, it gives it such, I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, a truly rich backstory.
This one, I've always thought the Capwolf thing was so stupid. Back in the day when Capwolf showed up in the original Captain America run, I'm like, you got to be kidding. Um, this is actually really good, and the artwork is surprisingly good. Have you read this, Alan?
Nope.
This came out a couple weeks ago. Uh, Shockingly good. This is a 4 or 5 issue limited series. A lot of fun. It's going back in time and dealing with during World War II. You see Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos. Cap comes in to save the day. The Howling Commandos don't care for that. Fury actually gets injured, and Cap has to lead his men on a mission, and they don't want to follow Cap. They're like, "No, you're just some slogan that's selling war bonds. You're not a real soldier. You're going to get us all killed with your stupid heroism just because you're now stronger than we are. You're going to lead us someplace and get us killed." So this is Cap proving himself to them. But then bad things happen, as you can see from the cover, and it's really, really fun. It's a good read. I cannot believe I'm recommending this book, but I'm recommending this book. It's dumb, but in a great way.
I know that's a really cool cover.
That cover is surprisingly cool. Um, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. I really, really wanted to like this book. And I'm sure that I would if Godzilla was in it and Kong was in it. This is mostly Superman talking. It's a whole lot of Superman talking. And I get that they're setting up the story, right? But they could have set this story up a lot faster than they did. Uh, Literally, you don't see Godzilla until the last panel, the last page.
Now, see, that number one, that's a really cool shot of him flying toward Godzilla.
Yep.
But if you're going to tell a story like that, I love the way they're telling the story with Godzilla, Here There Be Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you don't see Godzilla throughout the entire comic book, but you know it's a Godzilla comic book.
Yes. You know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, I'm going to skip through a few of these that I just don't want to spend the time talking about yet. We've already talked about Void Rivals number 4, but that was good stuff.
Yep.
I think number 2 came out this week. I finally got around to reading this one, Hexagon Bridge.
I'm not on that one.
Holy smokes. This is really good.
Really? Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. If you like some of the stuff that they've been doing lately, Antarctica is one of them. This is another one. They kind of have a similar feel. I mean, totally different books, different characters, different plots. They just have the same kind of feel, and that's really good. That's a good book. Hard to explain and describe, but that's a good book, and I would recommend picking it up. Scrolling on. Miles Morales Spider-Man continues to be good. We already talked about The Devil That Wears My Face last week, right?
Oh yeah, we talked about. God, such a good book.
Click Click Boom is a great book. Recommend that one. It's 4 issues in, so the trade will be coming out soon because it's a 4-issue limited series. But that was really good. Let's see. Scrolling down. I really wanted to like this book. I got the Scotty Young cover. I really wanted to like this book. The art's gorgeous. The story is it's a really thick book and not much happens. Again, it's probably mostly setup. Hickman tends to be a slow, drawn out kind of a pace for his writing, and this very much feels that way. Uh, when we had Kelly Yates on the show, if you wanted his book Amber Adams, we've got that in at the shop now. That's the trade. Um, of the book. So yeah, we have that in at the shop now. And if you want to get something by Kelly Yates, who is just a great human being, I recommend you pick that one up. We've got 3 or 4 copies left at the shop. I picked up this cover. I'm not normally a big fan of the variant covers and such. I just want the comic book. But I picked up this cover of Batman, Superman, World's Finest because that's just awesome.
That is a great cover.
You can't see very well, but it kind of looks like, I mean, it's shiny and stuff, but it's kind of got a coloring that looks like leather. And that's just awesome. The Magog symbol, just fantastic. Now, you read Flash number 1, right?
Yes, I did read Flash number 1.
Flash number 2, everything you liked about number 1 continues in number 2. Excellent book. Strongly recommend. Jed MacKay has been good on Avengers. It hasn't been great, but it's been good. This one I actually have not read yet. I'm a little bit leery of it for some reason. But Rumpus Room.
So I have read Rumpus Room, and you remember the way some of the old, and I mean for you younger kids, you're not going to understand what I'm talking about. But remember the way some of the old like Dark Shadows or Tales from the Dark Side episodes felt?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how that feels. And I mean, it's not a bad thing for anybody that's, like, oh, well, what is he talking about? That's kind of how that feels. And it's one of those books that at the end of the first issue, you have more questions. And you're like, okay, I've got to read the second issue now to figure out exactly what Bob's cream is. That's driving me nuts, to be honest with you. So, yeah, it's definitely a good read.
Daredevil number 2.
So is it as good as number 1?
I really didn't think Saladin Ahmed was going to be able to pull it off, but yeah, it picks up right where number 1 left off, and it follows through. There's good action in it. There's good character-driven story in it. This whole business with the orphanage, he continues in that. So there's some more of that going on. That's good stuff. Crypt of Shadows.
That is a one shot this week, isn't it?
It is. You got a witch, a monster. It's got everything you could ever want. This is a fun book. And it's a team up like you put Daredevil, Hulk, Scarlet Witch with Deadpool, and I'm like automatically that does not work,
Yep.
and yet it somehow works.
Is that Jack Russell up in the corner?
It is, and there's also Man Thing and the Living Mummy are kind of vaguely represented there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was supposed to be the living mummy or just somebody that was thrown in there.
Yeah. If you did not read uh, Avengers Inc. #1, guys, Avengers Inc. is a really good book. It's Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, and Victor Slade, who is an alias of, or Victor Shade, which is an alias of the Vision. Kind of like a noir detective kind of a thing. It's really interesting. I'm not Titans Beast War. I'm not 100% on board with this one yet. Um, I wish they would just leave Amanda Waller out of it. They've been using her too much, in my opinion.
I know a lot of people that feel that way.
Yep.
But at least, and I don't know about that one because I haven't read it yet, but at least she's a background character as of right now in other places.
Yes. Scarlet Witch continues to be good. Is there anything else here? Oh yeah, if I'm honest, I haven't had a chance to read this one yet either. Edenwood #1. It's the new book from Tony Daniel, the same guy that created Noctera. This looks gorgeous. I just have not had a chance to read it yet, so I'm looking forward to digging into this one. That's on my list of things to do.
Can you give us a sneak peek of the inside?
Yes, I can.
Because I know, did you read the last issue of Noctera?
Yes.
So I know the letter at the end of it, they're pretty much taking time off from Noctera to do this.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that looks nice. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's more kind of fantasy based, like fighting demons and bad guys and things like that. Not so different from Noctera. They just call them different things. But yeah, it's some stuff happens here for sure, which leaves you going like, okay, I didn't see that coming. I'm just flipping through it. I just saw some things. I'm like, all right, I wasn't expecting that. Normally, when you have a new protagonist, you get some time with that protagonist. And in this case, it's a little bit messed up. But yeah, I just wanted to share a few things with you guys out of my massive reading stack because this has been a lot of catching up. I mean, look at that. That's a lot of catching up.
That is going to be me Sunday morning.
That's good for you.
Oh, yeah, I'll just get up early, put on a pot of coffee, and start reading.
Yep, that's good stuff. That's good for you. So before we jump into Halloween books, I do have something else I want to talk to you about. You ready for this?
All right.
Monday, I participated in a retailer roundtable discussion with, let me see, Josh Williamson and Robert Kirkman.
Okay.
Concerning two books specifically, Duke #1 and Cobra Commander #1.
And anything that can be disseminated to masses?
They showed us, they told us some plot points and they showed us some artwork. and told us how it's going to unfold. We're not allowed to really say much. I can say a couple things. One, I'm a GI Joe guy. Like Transformers are okay, but I have never, ever, ever, ever liked it when they mix, except for one time, and that was the one that Jay Lee did the art for, where it was kind of set during a World War II kind of era, and all the Transformers were like World War II looking.
Yep.
I enjoyed that. That was the only GI Joe Transformers crossover I have ever liked in my life. I didn't like it when I was a kid in the '80s, and they did it, and I don't like it now. That said, I'm really looking forward to this. I think there's going to be some confusion because the ongoing GI Joe series that starts back up here in a couple of weeks, November 15th with GI Joe 301, is totally separate from the Energon universe. It's just its own thing that's going on since it has gone on since 1982, and it's just continuing on its own path. Not involved at all in the Energon universe. So there are two parallel GI Joe worlds that are happening. And that's good news for me because I still get what I want, but I can also, it's like I have my Rocky Road, but I can also have some vanilla or whatever. You know, if I'm going to Handles, I can get my blueberry cheesecake chunk ice cream and be a happy camper.
So good.
It's so good. But I've got both options now. Anyway, with Duke and Cobra Commander #1, they showed us some interesting things. The start of the story is really the impetus. It's what launches the whole universe, kind of in a way. Void Rivals certainly did that, but Duke kind of does it in a different way. And you see what's happening and why the motivations are there and what's going on. There are some teaming choices. They're going to slowly build out the team, kind of like the way the MCU did, focusing on specific characters. They're not just going to give you a team of 300 people. Um, yeah, okay. They did not answer that specific question. The Energon universe is it's taking place in the regular ongoing Transformers book. It's taking place in Void Rivals, and there will be other follow-on titles after Duke and Cobra Commander. Maybe it's just a new GI Joe title that's just not a real American hero. They didn't say. They do have plans. That's all laid out, and they've got like 3 or 4 years worth of story laid out that they want to tell. So that's all very positive for me. All right, we can talk about that in a minute, maybe, Nick. Anyway, the cool thing with this is they're starting off with a very small cast of characters, and they're introducing people slowly and giving them focus, which is good. He said you're not going to see the first appearance of somebody just because they happen to be an Easter egg, somebody walking around in the background. They're going to get an awesome introduction. Because if it's a character that you know and love, there's a reason you love that character, and we want to show that off in the way we bring them into the story and fold them into the mix. So that's exciting. I'm happy about that. They said one character they are shying away from, and I think it's okay for me to say this. I hope it is. So if it's not, Robert Kirkman, please don't kill me. I don't think this should be a surprise to anyone. The one character they are shying away from is Snake Eyes. He gets too much spotlight. As everybody, there's a whole big GI Joe team, and they want to focus on other characters within that, and eventually Snake Eyes. But for now, they're building up a whole lot of other characters. I will say the lineup of characters that we're going to meet in the Duke book, there's some surprises there. One humongous surprise there.
So,
like, what is that person doing there? And it will knock your socks off, because I was sitting here like, you can't do that.
Yeah, in fact, I read it in the article, and it's already been leaked. There is
That is unfortunate.
Yeah, there is, and honestly, I can't remember who it is. But one Joe is actually with Cobra. I would not mind seeing, and I know this is, especially since it's a newer character, believe it or not, I would not mind seeing more Sherlock in the Energon universe.
Oh, I'd like to see characters like Sherlock and Helix. Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I thought Sherlock was a really good character. And considering that the story that I think they're going to attempt to tell, I think Sherlock would be a good fit for that story.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I think you would too. Um, on the whole, though, I'm very excited for both of these stories because, again, they're focused on the characters and what motivates them. They're not focused on, hey, we're mashing G.I. Joe and Transformers together. It's not this kind of bash, 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 action figure to action figure headbutting kind of play. It's like intense character motivation that's driving this. And they start off the Duke book with that. Um, One of the other cool things that they're exploring in the Cobra Commander book, and I don't think this goes off the rails or violates anything I'm not allowed to share, uh, is they're exploring the origins of Cobra. Like, why would anybody follow this dude? Why would anybody go into battle with this dude? Uh, oh gosh, what's his name? Paul Jenkins did that back in the day. There was a one-shot release called Cobra. I think it was Cobra Commander or just Cobra. I forget which. Cobra Commander Reloaded or Cobra Reloaded. It was a one-shot, and Paul Jenkins wrote Cobra Commander as an extremely charismatic guy who billed himself as a patriot. He loves America. He's trying to take America back from what he feels to be its fallen status, and people follow him because they believe in him and they believe in his mission. It was kind of scary to read, actually. You're like, I mean, he's making some compelling points, which Cobra Commander shouldn't be able to do, but he was. Right. See, I'm with you, Bill. As long as they leave the Hama run alone and I can enjoy that, um, I'm fine um, with the other. I just didn't want this like injecting itself into the ongoing Larry Hama story.
See, I never found a copy of that Cobra Reborn, and I have always wanted to read that.
It's phenomenal.
Was it Image or
It's
Devil's Due that did that?
Devil's Due was at Image at the time. They were
Yep.
publishing through Image, and I believe that was when they did it because they
Okay.
did broke out on their own for a while as Devil's Due. They got away from Image, but I think that was through Image when they were still there. But Cobra Reborn, that was it. GI Joe Reloaded and Cobra Reborn. That was such a phenomenal book, such a great one shot. I really wanted that to be an ongoing series. I would have read it.
See, I think that they should leave Serpentor out of it also. I think that if you're going to build this universe, Serpentor is going to be too much too soon.
I don't think they. This is just pure guesswork. Serpentor, I don't recall ever being mentioned, but I don't think that they are be in any kind of a hurry to get to something like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be years down the road.
Yeah, because I think that they should really and truly go with the original Joes versus the original Cobra for a pretty good while you're trying to integrate them with Transformers.
It should be very interesting. It should be very interesting. I will say one thing: a a big mystery from Transformers number 1 and Transformers number 2 will be answered in one of those two books.
Okay.
It's a big mystery, and you're like, I wasn't even positive it was a mystery. It's a mystery. It will be answered in one of those two books. Just so you know, since I've got you and Bill both here at this moment, uh, there is a re-release of GI Joe number 1 coming out, old school number 1, with Larry Hama's original dialogue in it.
Really?
It's not a big change, but Marvel's editor went in and changed some of his wording that he thought, as a veteran who knew what the heck he was talking about, that the editor should have left alone. And so they are reprinting G.I. Joe number 1 with his change in it, or with his original dialogue in it.
So sorry. You know that the YouTube comments hit before we actually see it on our end. And Bill wasted no time whatsoever. You wasn't even getting it completely out of your mouth.
Well, I will tell you, Bill, I already ordered copies for you, me, and Alan at a minimum. I ordered like 7 or 8 copies of that. just because I think that's awesome. I think that is absolutely awesome. I'm interested to do a side by side read
Yeah.
to see what changed because they said it wasn't very much. It was like 3 or 4 pages maybe where the dialogue was actually changed. But I'm really excited to actually see what it was and just get it fresh from Larry Hama the way it was intended. That's cool to me.
See, to me, I mean, I can't really. Well, I mean, I could do that if I use like the Marvel Unlimited app because my GI Joe one is in a slab. But to me, yeah, I would love to crack my slab on my GI Joe one and get Larry Hama to sign it. But
Mm-hmm.
part of me thinks that it would be cooler to have this reprint signed because it's 100% his and not
I
some
cannot
editor,
argue that. I
not
cannot
some
argue
editor
that.
getting a hold of it.
I got to
Um,
show y'all this too because I got this the other day and I'm going to embiggen myself again real quick because this just made me happy. It's not worth much at all, but this is a gorgeous cover and this is flat out awesome.
oh, that is a good looking cover.
Boy, that glare is killer. Look
You
at
know
that.
what? You know what I've been struggling with here lately, and I'm trying to focus in on certain books, on certain back issues. There's just certain things that I want. And I've been that way for a while, but you know what? Whenever I walk in the shop, I always glance in old girl's direction, and I don't know why, but for some reason, I think I'm getting closer and closer to buying those Elsa Bloodstone slabs. I don't know why. Maybe it was that Werewolf by Night issue that come out a few weeks ago. But yeah, it's just like every time I go in, old girl's up there just kind of, hey, I'm over here. Come get me. I'm ready for you.
She is saying exactly that. Uh, she's yelling it like, yes, for the love of all things holy. Um, but yeah, that's some cool stuff. The GI Joe #1 reprint. I just thought it was kind of weird. I'm like, why are y'all reprinting #1 from back in the day? That seems like an odd choice. Um, unless you're doing like that facsimile kind of thing, and like 1982 is kind of fresh to need a facsimile in my opinion. But
Oh,
um,
in full transparency, just so everybody knows what's going on, Nick Ellis has texted me a dirty joke. Nick, you should be ashamed of yourself. Text me another.
your phone's gonna blow up now.
Yeah, really.
um, let's see. Was there any other big news? I think that was it for the big news. That's pretty cool stuff, though. Very excited for what Skybound is doing. I can tell you just the demeanor of all the people involved on the phone calls because there was also another one of the one of the artists, one of the editors, Robert Kirkman himself. These guys.
So Nick, here's the deal. I think, and Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, you started on the Marvel Unlimited app, literally started with issue #1. I believe that's what you had said one time. Um, if I was going to tell somebody to jump in, I would say jump in as of right now because it's going to be easier. Josh may not agree with me. We may be starting an argument here. But if a new reader come to me and said, I want to start somewhere on G.I. Joe, I already know the vast majority of the characters and everything that's going on. The first thing I'm going to do is start with Snake Hunt.
Legion, what's happening, man?
What up, Mark? I think you should really and truly start with Snake Hunt if you already know the characters. And when I say know the characters, I mean you know who Duke is, you know who Snake Eyes is, and all that.
That's not a bad suggestion, but I would go back a little bit further to pick up some key things. Read GI Joe #21. If you were to read GI Joe 21 and you don't like instantly go, I need to know more about this, then I don't know what to tell you.
Which one is that?
Silent interlude. This one right here.
Oh, yeah.
Read GI Joe 21. And then 26 and 27 have some back flashes of Snake Eyes' origin story. And then you've got the Snake Eyes story in what was it, 92, 93, 94, something like that. That was really cool. Certainly, the GI Joe 301 is a great jumping on point. Um, I will say, be prepared because the cover for 302 indicates that somebody dies in 301.
And 301 is a direct sequel to 300, so you might need
Correct.
to go back a couple of issues.
You know, that's not a bad idea. We could do a read through of G.I. Joe from back in the day. That's not a bad idea, Alan.
You know, honestly, and I cannot remember what issue it was, and it may have, God, it's been a while ago, but it was an issue of, there was a lot of flashbacks, and it was Snake Eyes when he was in Vietnam
Yep.
before he lost his sight, and he actually talked every once in a while.
You mean he didn't lose his sight.
No, I'm sorry. Before he
Lost
kind of
his
went
voice.
mute and everything and got all tore up.
Yep.
The reason why I said his sight was because you never see his face. He wears sunglasses throughout the entire issue.
Yep.
That was just a really good throwback pre-Snake Eyes issue. That might have been one of my favorite issues with him. And he wasn't even technically Snake Eyes in the vast majority of the comic book.
No. There are definitely some key issues you should read. And go to your Marvel Unlimited, since that's the thing that you have and you do. Read G.I. Joe 21. There's no dialogue in it whatsoever. It's called The Silent Interlude, and it is freaking awesome.
Yep.
Absolutely awesome. There's another silent issue. I believe it's number 85. It's when Storm Shadow was in that urban camo outfit.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
And then they did a silent issue during Snake Hunt.
Yes. Snake Hunt was a great story. All the death of...
Mark's right. Look at issue 21. Yeah.
Yep. Man, there were some other great ones too. G.I. Joe 109 had some pivotal moments in it. Just great stuff. You could cherry pick certain things like that. But it's a phenomenal book with really compelling characters. I love it. Honestly, as you can see, the shelf is covered with my love of this, and there's more that you can't see that's all around here. So,
honestly, Nick, I would probably say, now that I've thought about it, do not start with Snake Hunt. Go back to when the original Snake Eyes sacrificed himself to take out Serpentor. Start just before that, so that way you can see, and I know this is going to sound weird for folks who have not read it, you can literally watch the fall of one Snake Eyes, one of the most beloved characters that was ever created for G.I. Joe.
Yes.
But at the same time, you can watch the rise of Sean Collins and him become the new Snake Eyes. And I mean, it was just, I will never understand how he was able to pull that off and actually make me care more about Sean Collins than I did a character that I literally grew up with.
Yeah, if you had told me that you could kill off the by far fan favorite character in the series, and keep your readers and still tell phenomenal stories without losing them, I would have laughed in your face. Like, there's no way. I mean, that's one of the greatest coups of a writer has ever pulled off, in my opinion. Is he did a phenomenal job with that. Because I mean, there's also Dawn Moreno. I shouldn't care about her. I shouldn't like her, and she's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dang it! Why is she cool?
Yeah, and plus, if you start there, you can actually watch the progression of Sean Collins truly growing into the Snake Eyes role and becoming Snake Eyes. Because in my mind, reading all of it, by the time you get to Snake Hunt, by the time you get to, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Bill's going to know exactly what I'm talking about. By the time you get to the scene in Snake Hunt where he is laying in the cell and he's handcuffed and he starts doing the hand gestures and everything.
Yep.
At that point, he's no longer Sean Collins. He is Snake Eyes.
Yep.
And I mean, it was just, I mean, absolutely perfect lead up to that moment. Because I mean,
It,
even I can't think of her name, but even she's going, "What are you doing? Stop that! Stop that!" You know, she knows that it's on now. He has truly ascended at this point.
yep. That is a true statement. Long story short, we love this. It's amazing. We have a long history with it, so we're definitely willing to forgive it some of its flaws and some of its absurdities and weirdness. But start with number 21. Read G.I. Joe number 21, then read 26 and 27. There's some cool stuff with Cobra Island in what, 40, 41, 42 in that ballpark. Some great stuff. G.I. Joe 90, I think it's 92, 93, 94 is a three issue. I don't want to put all the focus on Snake Eyes, but since you're kind of having to come at it a little bit different, I think that's a good way to get into it for you because it's really, really excellent. It really is. Just phenomenal stuff. Anyway, that said, we're boring all the non GI Joe people, so let's talk about some Halloween books and some good reads. Uh,
Okay.
what all did you bring, and then we'll talk about some other good ones.
Well, you know, this time of the year, everybody kind of they start getting more and more into horror movies. It's October, Halloween, all that. I know that, and I've had this conversation with people before because there's a lot of people that they don't understand my love and my fascination with horror movies. To me, it's not the jump scares, it's not the gore or any of that, it's the suspense. I love the suspense aspect of it. Well, I got to thinking, what comic books really and truly give me that same suspense aspect since here we are just before Halloween? And we're not going to really talk about these books because we have covered them in the past. Um, and I'm going to give y'all what is my number one Halloween read of the year. And I think y'all are going to be surprised by what I say. Right off the bat, Josh and I have talked about it before. This is a 4-issue series. It's by AWA. To me, this is just flat out Dan Panosian goodness. It was a great read, and it's the only book you will ever read that by the end of it, you will realize that you were rooting for the devil the entire time and you were fine with it. That is Black Tape. It's just a 4-issue read. I'm really and truly want to recommend this to my fellow Gen Xers out there because Panosian completely and totally captures the late 70s, early 80s music scene in the first couple of pages. I
Yep.
mean, captures it perfectly. You will feel it feels like a late 70s, early 80s horror movie, is what this entire series feels like. Um, yes, it is dark. There's certain words that I just don't want to use because of YouTube censors. I don't know what they'll like or what they don't like. You can kind of tell, and yes, we did mention the devil. There are things going on in it, but it's not like a weird. It's just telling the story. It honestly, for my fellow Gen Xers, it kind of reminded me a little bit of a cross between The Omen and Witchboard. And I know that that's, kind of strange, but y'all should know what I'm talking about. Next up on my list is actually by Source Point Press. This was a one shot. I cannot remember if it came out last year or if it came out this year. This was one of those that I saw it and I just wanted to pick it up. And before I actually show y'all this one, your best horror comics are always going to come from independents. It's just all there is to it. But my next one is Nightmare Man by Source Point.
Really?
Yeah, this was.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this book. It was a one shot. I thought it was very. Did you ever read it?
I have
It's
not read that one.
it's very, for lack of a better way to put it, it's very simply written. The guy is basically talking about his nightmares, and he's talking about his nightmares to another man in this cafe. And
Okay.
throughout the course of the conversation, he realizes the reason why this man is so. And this guy has had night terrors ever since he was a kid. He
Yeah,
realizes that the reason why this man is familiar is because he is his nightmare man.
that's
He
not
is,
horrifying at all.
and the thing is, the nightmare man really and truly does not want to hurt him, because that is what gives him immortality, is feeding off of everyone's night terrors. And he's literally been feeding off of this guy's night terrors since he was a child. But he has
Yikes.
others that he does that to. It was very well written. It was a great one shot. Um, I don't know. I'm telling you, I think cover price on this was only maybe $2 or $3. It's probably worth $1 now. I mean, it was just one of those cheap comics, but it was a really good read. Next one, we're going to kind of gloss over this one a little bit because it's independent, but it was a little more mainstream. I know a lot of people were trying to get their hands on this book for some reason, and that is We Have Demons. This
That's
was a
been a
Dark
minute.
Horse comic. You got Snyder and Capullo.
Yep.
It was a good read. I hope they come back and do more with this one day, because yes, we have demons, but guess what? We also had angels. There was a lot going on in this book, and it could be the beginning of a really good universe if they decide to revisit it. Next up, and I know this is going to be a massive shocker for folks, so we won't really and truly go deep dive into this one.
Hang on just a second. We just got an emergency text.
What we got?
Someone stopped me from buying a Devil Dinosaur number 1 9.8. That's the kind of emergency text we get, by the way.
Yep, and you're about to see my response.
Somebody stop me.
Yeah.
Not
Do
it.
it.
Not it.
Do it.
Did you see my response?
Yeah, it's my response, not it. I know this is going to be a big shocker. I'm telling you right now, I know a comic book store on Slaughter Road in Madison, Alabama, that if you stop by there tomorrow or Saturday, I'm pretty sure you can pick up volume 1 and volume 2 of this trade paperback. There's two fellas. One will be working Friday, one will be working Saturday. They'll be more than happy to sell it to you. But you better be of age. No kids on this one. And one of my favorite horror stories in a long time, that is Devil's Highway.
God, such a good book.
I mean, it's dark, it's gritty. One of the strongest female lead characters you're going to run across, that you get a very brief glimpse of why she is as hardcore and awesome as she is. And literally, they could have done a comic book about that also. But we won't go a ton into that because we mentioned this one a lot.
It's such a great book, y'all. It's so good.
It really, and I think the trades are only like $10 each. So
they are, yeah.
The AWA is very reasonable with their trades and stuff. So you can get the complete story for $20 and have you a nice little Halloween read this weekend. Next one, I don't know if there's a trade out for it. We have briefly mentioned this book in the past, and yes, this is extremely heavily AWA comics, but nobody's doing horror like them right now and making it a good, viable read, something that you can really
sink fresh. It feels fresh, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily new ground all the time, but it feels fresh the way they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're getting very familiar stories, but they're being retold in a new way. It's just really good the way they've done it. But this next book is by Rob Williams, Will Conrad, and Marco Lesko, and that is Out by AWA.
That was such a good book. That one flew under the radar so hard too, because that came out 2 or 3 years ago.
God, has it been that long already?
It's been a couple of years at least.
Oh wow.
Pretty sure.
Basically, in this book, for those of you that hadn't read it, the reason why you should read it is the entire book takes place in a World War II POW camp.
Yep.
And
German prison camp. Yep.
yeah, the Germans are doing everything they can to resurrect this ancient vampire that they think they can use. And they actually have someone and it's been a long time since I read it. I think he was what they refer to as the I believe the Wind Talkers,
Yep.
the Navajo
The
Wind
Navajo wind
Talkers,
talkers. Yeah.
and they want to use this POW. His own people don't even trust him because they think he's a traitor because he can speak German and he can speak all these languages. But he basically makes friends with the vampire. I mean,
That was really unexpected.
yeah, it really was, and it was
It
a
was very
good
unexpected.
issue. It's this is one of those that yes, we do get some blood and guts, but it's extremely suspenseful. I mean, just very well done. Even when they're when the POWs are trying to escape. Another good read. We've talked about this one last week. It's already been mentioned tonight, earlier when Josh was doing his recap. I'm going to mention it again just because it was, pardon my language, that damn good. The Devil That Wears My Face. I mean, blown away. And Mad Cave is not a company that does very much horror, if any horror.
No, they don't.
And they didn't knock this one out of the park. They knocked it out of the flipping stadium. It was that good. And there might even be a couple left on the shelf. It just came out last week. So we'll kind of go on that, kind of gloss over that one a little bit. My number one horror read in a very long time. I'm actually ranking this one above Black Tape and above Devil's Highway. Y'all know how I feel about those two titles.
I said, now I'm curious.
This one caught me so off guard. It is an old, familiar story, but it was an extremely fresh, new take on this story. And it gets you invested in it right from the get-go. By AWA Comics, Sacrament.
Oh, yeah, that was you're right. That one took me by surprise too. That's not what I was expecting at all.
Yeah, Sacrament is a little bit different because yes, it is a possession. It will remind you a little bit of The Exorcist. It'll remind you of those style movies, but it's happening in the future, and it's at mankind's already branched out among the stars. At this point in the future, pretty much God and religion are outlawed. They've even got it narrowed down to where it's a certain aspect of your brain that they can wipe it and you'll never believe again.
Yep.
There are like rogue or even pirate priests that go around and pray for people and bless them. Except our priest that this is following has definitely got his issues, and he doesn't even know if he believes anymore.
Yep.
Until the government comes to him and says, we've got a situation and we think it's legit. Because, and it's, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was basically when mankind left Earth, we took the devil with us.
Yep.
And it was just, I mean, completely and totally off guard. Yeah, you do get some moments in it that some people are not going to like, but it actually fits the story.
It really
And
does.
it fits the issues that he's having, the crisis of faith that he's having, all that stuff. I mean, just a great read. 5 issues, the story is done. And I mean, this was a really, really, really spectacular horror comic.
Tell you what, Haven readers, Havenites, I accidentally somehow, some way, have 2 copies of this in my stack here at the house. So we having a giveaway.
Nice.
Somebody in the comments tell me you want to read this book, and we'll make sure that this finds its way to you. So let us know. We're having a little giveaway here. Somebody who wants to read a horror book for Halloween, let us know. And if nobody claims it, my feelings are going to be very hurt.
We got 5 people watching. Somebody needs to claim it. And we already have a
There
claim
you go,
on it.
James. Just make sure you read it with the lights on and at least 2 hours before you go to bed.
You know, speaking of that, and there was an author, and he's written a lot of books. He passed away, I would say within the past couple of years. He was older. His name was Peter Straub. He wrote a lot of stuff with Stephen King. They co-authored some stuff. He had tons of books that come out himself. He actually, one of his books was made into a movie. It was called Ghost Story.
Yes.
But Peter Straub is literally, and I read stuff that you need to pray and take a shower after you read it when it comes to horror. But Peter Straub is literally the only author that made me check the closet and look underneath the bed one night when I got ready to go to sleep. And it not jump scares, not gore. It's just the way that he described the entire scene
and build suspense.
It was, and the book was actually called The Throat, which is the second book in the Blue Rose murder trilogy. And the first book is called Coco. The second book is The Throat, and the third book is the Blue Rose murders. But the main guy, they were all in Vietnam together. And in one scene, he's talking about when they were in Vietnam, they were walking through a village and he could see all the ghosts of the people that had died there. But when he looked at the living, he saw them as ghosts also because he knew that they were dead. They just didn't know it yet.
Hey.
The way that he describes that village and the ghosts and everything, dude, I'm checking underneath the bed. I'm looking around. I'm making sure that, all the doors are locked and everything. It was creepy. But he's the only author that ever do that to me.
I believe that. So is that it for you for your Halloween books?
That is it for my Halloween books. It was AWA heavy, but nobody's really doing horror like they are.
Okay, because I was thinking some throwback books. Ones like Batman, The Long Halloween.
I was thinking of stuff like that, but I wanted to go with stuff that was a little bit newer that people could still get their hands. I mean, people could still get their hands on that easily, but I wanted to show an alternative to what people would actually think of.
That's fair. Another one I was thinking is Batman The Long Halloween, when it first came out, just took the world by storm. I mean, it was a 12-issue maxi series that ran from Halloween one year till Halloween the next year. And Tim Sale's art was just out of nowhere. Different, really eye-catching, really awesome. The Long Halloween is a great story. Really, really loved it. If you're a Batman fan and want to read something that's kind of spooky and got that going on, that's a great read. Another one I would recommend, catch in trade form, we've got it up at the shop, is Spider-Man, Kraven's Last Hunt.
Ooh, God, that was so good.
Tell me that's not a great Halloween read.
We have bashed Spider-Man on this show, and it's not Spider-Man's fault. It's editorial's fault. It's the writer's fault. But Kraven's Last Hunt, I never would have pictured that as a Halloween book, but I agree with you 100%. Recommending it for Halloween. What he goes through and everything, yeah, I think that would be a good Halloween book.
Just the vibe off of that book is hardcore, and it's one of those ones you look at and go, that was told in mainstream comics with the flagship character for Marvel Comics. That should have never worked. That was so dark. It was so dark. That should have never worked. And instead, it was just amazing and everyone loved it.
Did you say The Last Hunt or The Lost Hunt?
Last Hunt.
Oh, Last Hunt. Yeah, that one too. I was thinking The Lost Hunt. Both of them are great, though.
No, I was thinking the original when it first came out.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good one.
The whole vibe in that with Vermin running around and all those rats following him, and then just that dark story with Kraven. Oh my God, it was incredible. Speaking of Kraven, I don't know if you saw, If you haven't been up to the shop, I guess you didn't. But we got a book in last week that everybody needs to be aware of. It is Amazing Spider-Man number 15, 1-5, first appearance of Kraven the Hunter. It's a CGC 5.0 yellow label signed by Stan Lee.
Oh, nice.
Yes, sir. And we have got that up on the wall at the shop right now. And it's a really good Stan Lee signature, too. A lot of his signatures not the best, but it's a good one as far as Stan Lee signatures go.
You know, as far as Spider-Man is concerned, and you talking about Kraven, another good one if you wanted to stick mainstream and you didn't want to go independent comics, you wanted to stick with something familiar like Spider-Man. If you're looking for a Halloween read, check out believe it's Spectacular. I actually had to pull it up, so don't think that I'm kind of pulling this out of my rear end. I had to look this one up to see when he debuted. But the Spectacular Spider-Man issue 107 came out in October of 1985, and it gave us a highly underrated Spider-Man character that, if done properly, can take Spider-Man and Peter Parker to a whole new, darker level. Sin Eater.
Oh, heck yeah.
Sin Eater would be a good Halloween read.
If you want an ongoing mainstream book that's a good Halloween read, I didn't mean to highlight that, sorry. Have you read this yet?
I did not pick it up. How is it?
This has everything you want, man. It's Batman, it's the Court of Owls, and it's a Lovecraftian horror that has been living beneath Gotham for centuries or millennia.
Yeah.
And then there is some division, some infighting within the Court of Owls.
Really?
And one of them lets the horror loose. And they have to go to Batman to stop it.
Now, yeah, that's definitely got potential right there.
I'm telling you. Dude, when you see the Court of Owls, the way that they are portrayed in here is like, what?
How many issues is that supposed to be?
3, I believe. It's the big oversized book, which that's not my favorite. I'm not real thrilled with. Let me just show you this last page and show you what this Lovecraftian evil looks like, which they're kind of calling Batman below. And it's the last page, so you can look away if it's a spoiler and you don't want to see it. But
that's you got a little. Oh, there we go. Kind of a cross between Batman, Man-Bat, and Cthulhu.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty wicked looking right there.
Yes, sir. If you want a good Halloween read that's a modern book that's happening right now, this is very, very good. It's kind of got that whole secret society kind of vibe to it, because the Court of Owls always brings that anyway. But it kind of has that vibe to it, and really, really interesting. Really interesting book. You would definitely like it. I know you're a big Court of Owls fan.
Yeah, I've always liked the Court of Owls just simply because of the way they've been portrayed, as being, this refined upper crust, but just this gritty dark side to them, how they look down on everybody. I don't know, just the Court of Owls was always portrayed a little bit differently, and I liked that for some reason.
Agreed. That's because they're not willing, or they're not afraid to get their hands dirty. Kind of always struck me as a nice difference about the Court of Owls.
Yep.
Court of Owls is the best thing that came out of New 52.
It really was.
As far as I'm concerned, by far.
I did like the Red Hood and the Outlaws title for New 52. I thought Green Lantern, honestly, I liked Green Lantern New 52 more than I liked anything they've done recently with him.
That's fair.
I liked how the way they ended that New 52 run, it was Sinestro telling the story. I thought that was really good. I just like the way that played out.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Well, I know this was going to be a little bit of a shorter week because you've been swamped and busy, and we didn't have a guest coming on or anything. So we could actually do something bizarre and end early, or if we got something else we want to talk about.
I mean, what
I
I
mean, it
mean,
feels
what about
weird to think about ending this early, but we could consider it.
we could consider it. Hang on a second. Let's do this right quick. Let's let's at least be able to say that we did our due diligence. We are going to habam. Since we're getting ready to wrap this puppy up for the month, and I'm going to share my screen right quick. We're going to jump to League of Comic Geeks and get out of that ad right there. So this is what we have coming next week. I mean, I know that Nick is wanting that Spider Boy #1. I'm trying to see. Oh, we got No One is coming back.
Oh, at long last.
Yep. That whole switching distributors thing kind of threw a monkey wrench in those titles being released.
That is a true statement.
Godzilla.
I'm just going to say G.I. Joe 301 comes out on November 15th, and I'm here for it.
So, what have you heard anything of? I know that Panosian is doing Savage Red Sonja. Have you heard anything about it other than that?
I have not. Have
Every
not.
everything that I've read about Red Light, they're saying
I,
it's not what you think it's going to be.
I have read the first issue of that that they sent. Actually, I've read the first two issues of that, and I agree. It's not what you think. And I can see why they gave retailers two issues to read,
Yeah.
but it's the first one is kind of what you think. Um, but you find out toward the end what's going on, and then the second one is the setup for the rest of the story of okay, now that we know what's going on, how do we do something about it? But it's definitely not what you think.
Now that that's not the first time that AWA has done something like that.
At all.
Um, they're really good at that misdirection, and a comic book that jumps to mind when I think of them doing that, and that is Hit Me. Hit Me is another one that flew under the radar. Yes, it was definitely a big boy comic.
Yep.
Definitely not for the kids, but it was a great, absolutely great story. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting caught up on this text message.
Oh, did he reply?
Yeah. The joys of having younger children. Let me tell you what, I'd give anything for my babies to be that age again.
Is that just because they were cheaper?
No, because they still wanted to hang out with me.
Oh, ouch. Yeah.
Well, because they're reaching that age where they're too cool for dad. Have you heard? Well, I mean, I've only hit a couple more of these, but have you heard anything about this Night of the Living Dead comic, Ken?
I have not.
Because issue 2 is getting ready to come out. Snow White and the Zombie Apocalypse. I missed the boat on that, and I'm kind of wishing I hadn't.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm really not seeing anything that's jumping out at me for next week. I mean, now that doesn't mean that there's not going to be a lot of good books coming out next week. No, it looks like we're getting down into some of the webtoon stuff now. So yeah, I mean, I guess we could end our. Oh, that's a wicked looking cover for King Spawn.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's eye catching.
And this should be pretty much wrapping up Gotham War, or getting close to it.
Yep. We do have the DC previews for this month that's coming out that we could talk about briefly. They don't have a whole lot of like new series launches or anything in
Mm-hmm.
here at all, which is kind of a surprise to me. How few they actually have. There are a couple, but not many. Um, this is not a new series launch or anything, but this is Superman number 10. And this cover just got my attention because that's not what I was expecting.
Yeah, I saw that. That is a pretty wicked looking cover.
Like, what in the heck? The man of tomorrow meets the man from yesterday? Cowboy Superman? Okay. I wasn't quite sure what to make of that one. And then let's see. This one, I've never been a real big Hellblazer guy, but Cy Spurrier, who is writing the current Flash book, which is so awesome, is writing John Constantine Hellblazer Dead in America. Um, Look at this cover.
I honestly liked Hellblazer when it was still under the Vertigo line.
God rest the Vertigo line.
They really need to bring that back.
They really, really do.
And bring it back the way that it used to be.
That's the only way to bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, don't bring it back and, update it and try to modernize it. Bring it back, bring back Hellblazer, Swamp Thing, Preacher, all that stuff. Oh, the Deadly Duo Unplugged. What's that?
That is issues number 1 and 2. Or is it just number 1? This is just number 1. In black and white, so you can just enjoy the artwork.
Gotcha.
Just because the artwork was so stunning. Actually, it's the first 2 issues, yeah.
That would actually be a good Halloween read.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, I had a guy come in to the shop. He's a good friend of mine. New box. He said, "Hey, I have a question." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Would you trade me Batman Joker Deadly Duo 1 through 7 for a copy of the trade?"
Okay.
So the issues themselves or a copy of the trade. And I thought, gee, let me think. Yeah, I'll do that. So we have a full run of GI Joe Batman and Joker Deadly Duo. That would be a very different series, GI Joe and Batman. But Batman and Joker Deadly Duo, we have a full run of 1 through 7 at the shop right now. And Alan and I talked about this when the series was coming out. It is a great book. It is such a great book.
And you
strongly recommend.
You definitely get the Joker that you've always wanted in that series.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, let's just throw off the fat ones.
What's so funny about it was it had to be done.
And he was proud of himself that he did it.
Well, of course he was. It was fantastic. It had to be done because if they just went with Batman's method, they would have all died.
Yep.
They killed a lot of other people too. It took the both of them, a combination solution from the two of them to work, and the Joker's contribution was just throw off the fat ones.
God, that was so good. So good.
As one of the people who would have been thrown off, I'm not sure that I'm thrilled about it, but it was a darn good way to put that story together and solve that. That was awesome.
And the way, okay, so whatever we want to call her, Bridezilla, Bride Death, whatever name we want to give her, that was a really good new character.
Yeah, and I hope they do something with her. He certainly left them a lot to go on.
Yeah, and the way that you actually saw her character progress throughout 7 issues, and by the end of the 7th, she's the same person, or she's the same character, but a different person.
Yes,
That, I mean, that was like the birth of a really, really good character there.
it really was. I was very, very happy with that. Also, for anybody who missed it the first time back in the 90s, Joker Harley Quinn Uncovered is going back to print.
Oh, really?
Yep, we got a new printing of it. So that's pretty cool. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. The cover for Batman 141, I feel like I should show you too. Um,
See, I still can't figure out how that showdown's actually going to go because
me neither, but that's one of the things that makes it cool.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be a mental fight.
Yep.
But I mean, how is he going to pull that off? Because to me, the only way to do it is one has to kill the other. That's the
Yes.
only way. I mean, that's the only. But at the same time, if Batman does kill Zur, which for those of you that don't know is his alter ego, is like his own personal failsafe, does that send Batman over the? I mean, it's creating like this massive psychological conundrum. It really is.
It's a lot of tension, and I'm curious to see how it goes. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. And
I'm enjoying it.
if Batman does kill Zur, does that activate failsafe again?
Good
I mean,
question.
there's so many possibilities that he's opened up with this.
It's a very good question because I think you're right. I don't think he can put Zur back in a box.
Mm-mm. It'd be kind of like that. What was it? Superman 3, where he basically had to take himself out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be something like that.
I think you are correct.
Um, I know that we had a couple of guests that had to reschedule. What are we? When are we looking at them coming?
November 4th. I believe
Okay,
it's the 4th.
wait a
Maybe it's
minute.
not the 4th. It's the 2nd. Whatever it is. November 2nd. It's November 2nd.
So next Thursday.
Ding, ding, ding. You want to talk?
Sweet.
You want to talk about that?
Have you made an announcement on who's coming?
We talked about it briefly a few weeks ago. I don't think we actually said who it was, but we can do that now.
Oh, well, let's do that now.
All right, guys. Next Thursday, we will have in the house Fred Kennedy and Nick Barinkovich, the writer and the artist for Dead Romans, which was a highly, highly successful 6-issue limited series published by Image. And it was so successful that the second story arc, the first one wraps up very nicely, but the second one, 7 through 12, they got the green light for it. So Dead Romans will continue. And those dudes are coming back to talk to us about the book and all that stuff, comics in general. And Nick Marinkovich, I know I tagged you on something he posted the other day.
God, that was so
That
beautiful.
was stunning. That's a
So
variant
beautiful.
cover for a book coming out from Titan Comics, Dark Souls, I believe.
Yeah.
Boy, that cover was just stunning. But yeah, we will have some awesome guests on next week. Really looking forward to talking to those guys. We enjoyed talking to them when they were on before because they're just absolute nerds, like nerding out about so many details. Like in Dead Romans, for example, when you see a Roman encampment where the soldiers have bedded down for the night, they did their homework. That Roman encampment that you see is not just Nick Marinkovich making up. Well, I think it would look like this. He actually did the research to know exactly what military tactics they deployed, how they built their little earthworks defenses and threw up wood palisades, how they laid out the grid structure of their encampment, all that stuff. It's all accurate. It's historically accurate. So when you see those things in the book, it's not just, oh, that would look cool. It looks cool, but it's also historically accurate, and that is awesome. But the fact that they're putting that level of detail into this when they don't have to, nope. The handful of college professors who would look at it and go, "That's not how a Roman camp looked,"
Yep.
is such a small minority that it doesn't matter. Uh, but they're doing it because they love it and they have that kind of respect for it, right? And because they're dudes and they can't help but think about the Roman Empire. Uh,
Bug come walking up to me. I was laying in bed. She come walking in the bedroom. She comes walking up to me and she said, this was several weeks ago. She says, Daddy.
yep.
And I went, huh? And she said, do guys really think about the Roman Empire every day? And I was like, yes, on some level we do. Every single day. And she was like, why? And I said, because on some level it was a good idea. And we think that we could have done it properly. But on another level, we realized that it was a bad idea and we could have been there to stop it.
Boy, that's the best answer I've heard to that.
So it's kind
awesome.
of our own little mental struggle. We see what they were trying to accomplish. They just didn't do it the right way. But if we tried to do it, we would have probably did it the way they did it also.
That's probably true.
I was like, you do need to realize that if just a small handful of decisions had been made differently, this entire earth would be the Roman Empire by now.
Yeah.
And I mean, just a very, and she was like, I never knew that. And I'm like, yep, be careful what questions you ask your daddy.
That's true. That's true. But Dead Romans is a phenomenal book.
So good.
And Nick Marinkovich has got a couple of other, he's got that variant cover we were just talking about. And then he's got a couple of other things coming out too that he's working on. This kind of a horror book that I don't know if you've seen much of this. He's posted pictures of it on his Facebook, but it's this horror book. There's this old timey church in the woods, and this woman that runs into there looking for refuge from whatever's after her. And it's just really simple imagery, but it is so creepy. It is so creepy. Because we've all seen that little church in the woods. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I am looking forward to that. Well, he's got on his Instagram, he's got Dark Souls, the one that you tagged me in.
Yeah.
What is this?
I don't know. Post it up on the screen. Post it up on. Oh, that was the thing that was going to come out like just before COVID hit or right after COVID hit, so it never came out. Post it up because that artwork was spectacular. That,
this is it right here.
1920s looking stuff.
Yeah,
is phenomenal. I mean, look at that.
This one right here really caught my attention.
I'd say, yes.
That is beautiful right there.
Every one of those is spectacular.
Yeah, I was. Here's some more.
But yeah, just keep. Oh, look at that! I'm getting some serious. Go back one. I'm getting some serious. Somewhere in time kind of vibes off of that one.
Yeah, especially with the hat.
Yep.
God, that was another underrated movie.
I love that movie.
Beautiful
soundtrack. My wife makes fun of me for it, but I love that movie.
Well, you know what? Leave her. You don't need that type of negativity in your life. Because that was a great movie.
That's not creepy at all.
No.
That little kid dressed like Pinocchio is freaking me out. You tell me that's not freaking you out.
Honestly, to me, this right here is just as creepy as the kids.
Why? Because he disappears and goes down to where he's just ghostly at the bottom?
Yeah, it's like this. Yeah, honestly, and we could probably like deep dive from some Freud stuff on me. This picture is actually sad to me because it's almost like he's a ghost that's stuck in his daily commute back and forth to work.
Yep, that's kind of the same vibe I get off of that.
God, that's beautiful.
I'm telling you, just phenomenal. Nick Marinkovich is an incredible artist.
Yeah, I think he might have a future.
Yeah, that kid knows what he's doing. Yeah, but keep scrolling on down. You'll get to some of the stuff I was telling you about.
Yeah, he's got.
There
Oh,
it is, that little church right there.
yeah, that's mm,
See, look at that.
the Voyager.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
Le Voyageur, because it's in French or something.
wow.
Yeah, I want to read this book.
Yeah, I like that top one right there where you got the
Uh huh.
crosses to the side. Yeah,
Yep.
that's some good
I
looking
want to
stuff
read
right
that
there.
book. So we get to talk. Yeah, and go to that next one down too. That one right there, the city one.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
I mean,
What
just look
oh,
at.
same series.
I mean, tell me that doesn't capture your imagination and make you just that take it transports you to that place.
Yep. Trying to read
That,
what it says.
that's
Says,
awesome stuff.
says they're wrapping up production on it this year.
Sweet. So we can ask him about that too.
Yeah, we can. What is this?
I,
That reminds me of some old heavy metal magazine stuff.
yeah, it also makes me think about characters like Wild Weasel and Barbecue from
Yeah.
GI Joe.
I mean this okay, so for those of you that haven't read the Dead Romans, this is what you get with Dead Romans. I
Yep.
mean, I believe this was a cover of it right here.
Yep.
I mean, they did not skimp on any aspect of Dead Romans whatsoever.
Mm-mm. Such a good book. I'm so excited to have those guys back on. I'm so excited to have the second story arc coming because now you've got your chance to get in on that one.
Yep.
You can be the old barbarian telling the Roman legion to get off his lawn.
Actually, I've thought about it, and it's something I need to talk to him about. I think that number one, they cannot let Jeff Johnson outdo him. Um, so I think that you and I would make outstanding Visigoths
Oh, absolutely.
standing by a fire, eating a turkey leg.
I was going to think a ham hock, but either way,
Yeah, either one, and a cup of ale in our hand. I think we'd be good at that.
I think we would excel.
Yeah, listening to the battle plan.
You can be cooking the ham and I'll be eating it.
That's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, we need those dudes to put us in that book because
I
that would
am
be awesome.
I am going to push this thing until you and I are the Stan Lee cameo of independent comics.
You know, that's not a bad place to be.
No, I'd be happy and content with that.
People could start noticing that these two weird dudes are showing up in comics all over the place. That would just be hysterical. And then our
Yeah,
first appearance would become really valuable.
yeah, I think I've told you this. I've told Bug I'm going to eventually wear Kyle Higgins down, and y'all are going to be flipping through Radiant Black one day, and you're going to see me in gray sweatpants and a gray t-shirt drinking coffee on the street corner, and across my shirt it's going to say Radiant Gray. I'm going to wear them down one day.
It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect. Couldn't
And
be better.
we won't be able to forget my Under Armour slides.
Oh yeah, you got to have those.
Yep.
Got to have those. Well, man, I think we should go ahead and call it a night.
Well, let's do it.
We appreciate everybody jumping on, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on Saturday with Nosh. Dude, Nosh, you're awesome. Really appreciate you watching with us, and we appreciate you. So thanks for watching. Thanks for letting us be a part of your day, whether it's the beginning, the end, or while you're at work and you don't have anything better to do. Either way, we appreciate it. So thanks everybody. You guys have a great night, and we will catch y'all next week with the awesome Fred Kennedy and Nick Marinkovich.